Hey, what do you say? Here I am, Mr. Technology. It's March 12th. March 12th. Ooh. 2025. Yep. I need to figure how to put 2025 somewhere on here. The year is not on there. And I've been doing this a multi-year period of time. But I guess if we go back in history, how many times in the last 5 years did March 12 occur on a Wednesday? You know, that's a search. Maybe that's an AI search criteria. We'll do a Google a little later and see. Maybe, you know, I'm getting excited about nothing. There we are. There's a full screen view. Here I am. I got the camera set just right so that, let's see, move that over a little bit so it doesn't block. Oh, I can slide this over a little bit. There we go. Now we can see all the digits. I'll slide that over a little bit, bend that up a little bit, bend that down a little bit. Yeah. You know, you gotta have all the stuff set right. This goes over here, not over here. So you can see just the tip of the straw. This is a little bit of my, you can see in there, a little coffee treat. Bustelo. I took coffee because I have our Cuisinart single K-cup serve replenishing Marilyn's iced tea. She's a big iced tea drinker in the morning, during the day, and in the evening. What they say, take tea and pee. Hefty, hot, and hearty. Okay, sorry about that. There we go. I got Roadcaster Duo over here. Yeah, I know. I know. Shut the door. We don't need you guys. And over here, I've got my MacBook Air. And I keep forgetting whether it's got an M2 or an M3. Let's see, about this Mac. Let's hit that button. It's got the Apple M3 chip. M3. I mean, that has a lot of cores and all kinds of stuff in there. It's got 24 gigabytes of what they call unified memory. That's a good thing. Yep. Head back in our... Oh, look at that. I'm on the left side. And here, let's see, we can... So we have the ability to click on here. Now, let's see, let's... oh gosh, what's that? No, we don't want that. Crop split. Live television, folks. Okay, we got that. Then we add me. Whoops. Oh, yeah, I see. That's good. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now we gotta click this. Crop split. There we go. So there's no... There we go. Whew. I like this view where you have no black. You have a... Like... let's see. See right over here, there's no seam. this goes directly onto the March 12th sign. Because there's a lot of video in this room here. Because I'm tricking. I don't know if I'm tricking, but I'm using the additional camera port, and I'm plugging in an iPad, an iPad, so that I can show, what day and date it is, albeit without the year. I guess we can figure out, if you've gotten this far into March, you probably know what the hell year it is, right? You've probably gotten by the New Year's Eve thing, where you slept most of the New Year's Day. And I got very heavy duty. I don't know if you can tell or not, but here's your typical microphone cable, and it's the same gauge as this unbelievable heavy gauge. It's got a bigger plug on the side than this plug over here. It snaps in with a little more vigor and rustles all the way around underneath the iPad Pro and comes out over here and connects to this multi-port device, so that I can plug in 2 or 3 more cameras. I can have a big display, but this display is big enough. 15-inch diagonal display right in front of my face. Then I got a 13-inch display right in front of the 15-inch display. And then, of course, we have our count up clock here. And for some reason or other, this little puppy is not on. Oh. I know why it isn't on. Because it's not plugged in. All right. So, we'll have to... You have to have a full electronic component here. What's going on? No, that's not it. We want, CLOCKS. We want clocks. There we go. And we'll put, can we see that over here? No. Here's it's so complicated. What do we got here? So, can I put that on top of this? A little doodad. I'm having technical issues here. Let's turn that off again. Turn that off again. Get rid of that. Clocks. Bingo. And just calm it down a little bit. Yeah. I'll slip that iPhone right up there. There. How about that? That'll slide. Watch this thing slide off. And go boom. Almost. Whoops. I'm sorry, I'll be right with you. Now we're talking turkey. So over here you can see a count up clock. What's this little my cable here. And here's like this is the time. There we go. Let's turn this. There we go, turn that down. We're in a studio setting here, folks. We don't need to have that up quite so high blast. I have an interesting photo to show you. Look at that. Now, for the untrained eye, that looks like a Toyota. See, Toyota 4x4 and then V6 there, which is and there's some other, I don't know what that stuff is. Got the big wheels. That mirror doesn't look like a Toyota mirror, though. You know what that is? That's a Cybertruck. But this Cybertruck driver does not want to have his Cybertruck look like a Cybertruck. So he's got some kind of a decal that he's put along this big square back end of his Cybertruck, and it says Toyota, because he doesn't want his Cybertruck set afire. Look at that. Tesla owners are disguising their cars with fake badges. It's actually a whole decal put along the back end of it, so that all these wackos that are firebombing private property, that's the big mouths in the Democratic Party, and this is not a prejudiced remark, are always saying how terrible the Republicans are, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. But guess who's setting all the fires in the country? It's a bunch of left-wing liberal Democrats, dummycrats, aka. So, yeah. Okay. So that's the latest. This came up on Kevin Bacchus came up with this story at fastcompany.com 3 hours ago, showing a picture of a Cybertruck with a Toyota decal on it. Yeah, very interesting. I don't know. It's over in southeast Florida. I haven't read any reports about fire bombings of Tesla products or firebombing. There aren't really, at least over. Tesla doesn't develop dealerships. The traditional dealership, we have 200 or 300 Hondas for sale, and big lots all around, the north and the west side of the dealership with the big glass windows and, everybody. And then around the left side, you've got this big drive that comes up into like 4 stalls with a service center. And Tesla doesn't have that. What Tesla has is what they've been, let's say, recently developing in the last 5 or 6 years, is they'll for example, in the Boca Town Center Mall, or whatever they call it today, it's changed hands from Edward DeBarlo to Simon and Company, and I think Simon still has it. The Tesla company signed a lease for the Apple space, which was on the right side of the big corridor running down through the middle of the Boca Town Center Mall, because Apple was moving its store that it had in that location for like 15 years over to the left side of the same corridor, but a space, I think more than double the original size. So they went from like I'm pulling this out of my fanny, but they went from a 1,250 square foot store to a 2,500 square foot store. or maybe a 1,500 square foot store to a 3,000 square foot store. But the store that Apple has on the left side of the main corridor, as you make a left swing through the very center of the mall. Apple's now on the left side instead of on the right side. And so when they moved out of the right side to the left side, Tesla signed the lease to display a few of their cars. And what looks like a showroom thing, they have, mural photographs of Tesla products, inside what the car looks like. And then they have like a half a Tesla wheels and the battery panel underneath, but the top of the car isn't on there yet. So you just see four wheels on a platform where the batteries are, and the motor in the front and the motor in the back. Yeah. And then you have at least two Teslas on display with the doors open, and so people can sit in the car and look at the display and get an idea of the what the seating material is like and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it's more of a showroom only, no service, no anything, just 3 or 4 people. Appointment books, electronic appointment books. A motor that's a sliced view of a motor. The electric motors. Tesla not only assembles, the whole car in their Fremont factory and in their Austin factory. This is the North American factories. They make they literally, I was going to say hand wind the motors. No, they made a machine that winds the motors. And they have 3 or 4 different, they have at least 4 motor designs that I've seen. These people take apart the cars. And of course I go to their sites and watch, the Weber company, Weber. This is a veteran-looking soul. He's in a wheelchair, and so he and his staff literally dissect Toyota cars in a very organized way. So you can see, every plug, every wire. They have gotten into the titanium chamber where all the, the 2170 cells are. Yeah, remember I took this flashlight apart and showed you the 18650 battery. There it is again, which is a good bit larger. It's 250% larger than your standard AA. But this one cell produces a very high amount of current. It's manufactured by the Panasonic company. And recently, Panasonic is making this cell, by the billions. And it's a lithium-ion rechargeable cell. And it has incredible amperage at 3.7 volts. So the one cell, the potential difference between the positive and the negative terminal is 3.7 volts. Yeah. Whereas a AA, the voltage is, like 1.5 volts, 1.55. This is 3.7 with the one cell. So instead of Tesla, part of the long-term development of an electric car company is the fuel tank. Remember, you got a gasoline fuel tank, and you got an electric fuel tank. It's fuel. The problem with an electric fuel situation is you can't run down to the local station and pick up a gallon of electricity. No. So you have to be more mindful of your available range at any point in time when you're driving an electric car. So instead of Tesla going through the pain and agony of trying to figure out how do we manufacture our own battery, well, and the wisdom of the early folks in the Tesla company 12, 13 years ago, they said, aha, let's go to Panasonic and order up 12,000 of these 18650 cells that Panasonic has been making, for 10 years. They've bitten the bullet and gone through all the, what they have to go through to develop a battery machine. And it's a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment that winds. If you take one of these things apart, it's like a cylinder that's all wound up like a roll of film, and you can spread it out, like 2.5 feet, and it's a real fine film with a brownish looking material deposited on one side of the film. And then you have, some kind of a real thin, almost like Visine, not Visine, what do you call it? That stretchy stuff that you pull out of a roll and put it over your leftover string beans and put it in the refrigerator. It has some of that kind of material in this long roll that you unroll, and you roll it all up, and you can stuff it back in that steel casing, and that's what a layman's view of what the inside of a lithium-ion battery. Now, anytime you hear recently about lithium-ion, you're thinking about some kind of a big battery that's the source of the electric energy for an electric car. But in truth, if you take apart a Tesla battery that's underneath the floorboards, the whole underneath part of a Tesla car is a battery pack. It's not a battery, so to speak. It's a bunch of batteries. It's like 6,000 of those cells all standing up like wooden soldiers inside that. They're grouped into 14 packages, if you will, so that instead of 3.7 volts, it's 25 volts when they have all the batteries, the 440 cells lined up in a series and parallel configuration. So you end up with 25 volts coming out, at about 1,800 amps. So each of those 14 battery packs are connected up in series. So, from a mathematics standpoint, if you have 25 volts and you got 14 packs, 25 times 14, as you can see on my super duper calculator, and then I hit the equal sign, bingo, 350 volts DC direct current. And that's what's feeding the front and rear motors, a power source of 300 volts DC direct current. Yeah. So they solved the lithium-ion battery problem that you have when you're trying to produce a prototype car, because that's the first thing you got to do. You got to make a prototype, which is a car that's a lot easier to develop because you're assembling it from pieces that other people manufacture. So you're basically an assembly plant rather than a factory, so to speak, because you are building a prototype Tesla car, but you're not fabricating each of the little items that go into the making of a Tesla car. That's what you do on your first prototype. And that's what they did. They went to Panasonic and said, hey, could you send me 15,000 of your 18650 cells, lithium cells that produce 3.7 volts apiece? And all of a sudden air freight shows up in Fremont, California, and they got 15,000 cells, which they bought from Panasonic, at $2 a cell, whatever. So for $30,000 they picked up all these cells in pallets, and they started assembling what would be the original Tesla battery pack, producing 350 volts at about 2,000 amps, which is a lot of power. That's 700,000 watts. What did you say? 700,000 watts. That is the power. That is the, they have a fuse, a sizable fuse in a fuse box, that may be this size. And in modern times, that's a big fuse. Well, that's, when you push down on a Tesla accelerator pedal, you can throw 5, 6, 7,000 watts of power on the front and rear motors, which really moves the car, accelerates the car at an incredible, like a G-force. Like your head is put. Passengers, will you gently place your head back on the headrest, because we are going to experience massive forward acceleration. And then the driver pushes down on the Tesla accelerator pedal, and 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, or 60 miles an hour. That's a fast insertion if you're trying to get on the highway. Yeah, it's really quick. Most people have never experienced such a rapid acceleration, except when you're on the top of a roller coaster ride and that sucker comes straight down in some of the most dangerous roller coaster parks in the country, which I don't do that. I'm the guy that holds all the purses, and all these crazy ladies and the young children go on the screaming rides, atop these roller coasters. I'm not big into being terrified by going straight down in a roller coaster. That's not my idea of a good day. So if you guys want to do that, have at it. Ladies, I'll hold the purses. Yes, so that's what Jimmy does. I have the camera, and I'm holding a bunch of purses. So for a while, I look like a purse salesperson there at Walt Disney World. Yeah, and it took me a while to get up the nerve to do Space Mountain, but space and Jimmy and everyone knows I'm a technology guy, and I read all about it. I pretty much just got online at Space Mountain. My 8, 9, 10-year-old, 9 and 11-year-old daughter and son looked at me and said, "Dad, you got to do Space Mountain." That's not a roller coaster. And it is. It's just in the dark. It's inside this domed, dark, and you can't really see what's going on. You got all this Disney production, big posters and things inside the Space Mountain thing, and it's beeping and the booping, and got space suits, behind glass things, and it definitely gives you the idea you're about to go to Jupiter. And when you sit in your little 2, 3, 4 seat rocket ship looking roller coaster ride looking thing, and all of a sudden you start moving in out of the view of the people that are standing on line, and you come around a big corner and you're combing around, and all of a sudden you're going straight up in the spaceship. The whole thing goes up like this, and you're going up and you're moving around, and you see an asteroid over here and you see a satellite over there. Well, this thing is meandering up to the top of the middle of this really dark dome, and then all of a sudden the sound changes, and some alert starts flashing and beeping, and the sirens, and all of a sudden you find yourself going straight down. And then there's a turn to the left, and there's a turn to the right, and you're getting slammed left and right in this spaceship looking thing. Hold on tight, folks, we are avoiding a master. So by the time you get out of this, and it's like an 8-minute ride or whatever, oh God, please, someone take me to Epcot Center, to the France. I think I need a glass of white wine, fast. So that's my idea of a roller coaster. I did that 2 or 3 times, as my kids were growing up. I think we've been to Walt Disney World, like 50 times. Twice a year for 25 years. I think it's been open like 30 years. It's amazing. Back when they had, when you paid $17.50 as you walked in the front main communications core, or whatever they call it, and you bought your tickets for the day, at Magic Kingdom, and which I think was the first themed Disney, several hundred acre piece of the 27,000 acres they bought in the southwest quadrant of Orlando. Can you imagine 26,000 acres of land Disney bought, and who bought it? No, not Walt Disney. They hired like 150 agents, like real estate broker people, from 26 different countries. And the Southeast Bank at the time, their trust department held all the titles to all the 26,000 acres that was being purchased over a 5-year, 10-year period of time by 100 or 150 agents all over the world in this massive assemblage. Because if you're a sophisticated real estate wise guy, if Walt Disney was buying these 3,000 parcels like in his own name, some wise guy, you see what I'm wiggling here? He'd see this little green icon I got in the middle that says numbers on it. He'd say, there are people buying, Walt Disney is buying up all these little pieces all the way around. Let's buy that middle one. And then we'll be a holdout. And Walt Disney would have to come crawling on his hands and knees, because you got this 26,000 acre assemblage, and the key piece right in the middle is owned by Jimmy. Oh boy. So now we got to negotiate with Jimmy divide that middle piece, and boy, the price is going to go way up. That's what Walt Disney and his geniuses out there in California, Santa Barbara, they decided to, or Hollywood or whatever, they said, no, we're not going to get caught in that trap. We're going to hire people all over the world in 15 different countries. And over the next 4 or 5 years, we're going to take our time and let those people buy these properties under a very tight NDA. Have you ever heard of that before? Non-disclosure agreement. And you shall keep said purchases a secret. And you will sign over that deed that you're acquiring, for $1 an acre. We'll hold it in the trust department of Southeast Bank with your assignment and a copy of your passport and driver's license. And I swear to hand over to Walt Disney the property I just bought, in 1961. I think it was a 10-year, before they opened, it was a 10-year assemblage and initial construction project. With the idea when we opened the doors at Walt Disney World, even though the only thing we got is the Magic Kingdom, which was very magical, they said we are going to receive 35,000 entrances every day. 35,000 people are going to show up and buy tickets so they can ride on all the rides and, eat lunch and early dinner. I mean, and you don't see any of that, how they do the food prep and how they, you never see a garbage truck running down the middle of the Magic Kingdom. The trash cans that you see around the property go down about when you push something in one of those trash cans, whoosh, it goes into a bag, and then when that bag fills up, it automatically goes down about 20 feet underground, where that trash can is then taken out of the receptacle, and they put an empty trash can liner, and then it goes up, up into that brown-looking trash can thingy where the kiddies put their paper wrappers and the empty cups. Everything is underground serviced. It's like a huge subway system underneath the entire Magic Kingdom. All that is, excavated in the plan and waterproofed, and, this Orlando gets a lot of rain. South Florida gets a lot of rain. Middle Florida gets a lot of rain. Like 60 inches of rain, 5 feet of rain during the rainy season, which is about 9 months out of the year. November, December, January, and February. I guess 4 months out of the year, the winter months in Florida. You might get, 6 inches of rain a month. But in the other months, the other 8 months, you can take 6 feet of rain and divide by 8 months. So you got a lot of rain. So handling stormwater drainage is, something of an issue. On the 26 or 27,000 acres that Disney bought from 200 agents across 15 countries, it's one of the largest, most private assemblages of property in the United States. Other than someone buying, I want those 30,000 acres out there in, the desert of New Mexico. Yeah, that's possible. But, a commercial enterprise where they got all kinds of, dining and rides and, You know, if you haven't been, you know, if you've got a 6, 7-year-old kid and you haven't been to a Walt Disney theme park, get yourself a car or an airplane and do a family vacation. Stay a week at Walt Disney World in Florida, and it'll be one of the more exciting things that you've ever done with your youngster or youngsters. I don't recommend it if you have like a 1 or a 2-year-old, or a 3-year-old. They have to be able to be reasonably seated for lunch. You know, now you can, if you have a well-behaved youngster, you know, like an 8-year-old, so they're mature to see what's going on, and they're also trying to emulate the good behavior of their parents, assuming the positive. To have that eye-opening experience of the Walt Disney World. You know, Disneyland is, of course, you know, the first California version of a Disney-themed park. And from that experience, they learned how to do it more magnanimously and created Walt Disney World. And then they started up buying property with these 200 agents in 15 different countries. Every time I tell the story, it changes a little because I think it's like 27,000 acres, and I actually forget the number of agents and the number of countries, but it's a lot. You know, it's not, Walt Disney did not buy up the property. Disney Corporation did not buy up the property directly. They assembled it indirectly by having a bunch of agents all over the world buy the properties in pieces, so that no one knew what was going on until they announced, aha, hello everybody, we just bought 8 square miles of property in the heart of southwest quadrant of Orlando, you know, and that's what they did. They started, they went to Southeast Bank, where all those contracts were assembled in their trust department, attached with assignment of the deeds to Walt Disney, of course, Walt Disneyland, or Walt Disney World LLC, whatever the ownership partnership they decided to throw all the properties in. And then they did a massive unity of title, is what they call it, so that all the properties were then changed into the name of Walt Disney World LLC, or WDW for Walt Disney World. WDW, LLC. I actually don't know what the name of it was, but they put all those, you know, thousands of contracts for 27,000 acres and made it one big title. And then started building Walt Disney World with the idea that they were going to have Epcot Center one day, but they didn't build that right away. It took them, you know, like 8 or 10 years before they figured, okay, we're ready for another themed park of some sort. And they had these 4 or 5 different regional parks, but the first one was the Magic Kingdom. Yeah, wow. God, it's hard to tell how many times we went to that. Our kids loved it. Yeah, I loved it. You know, it was like, you're like in a totally different, it's another world. Matter of fact, one of the rides in the Magic Kingdom, it's another world. You know, you get in this thing, you float all around this, you know, all this stuff in the dark, and they had a lot of the decorations and the dolls and the robotic animals and snakes and serpentines, and they're all lighted with ultraviolet light, against black backgrounds. So all this stuff was just glowing all over the place. If they actually turned on the fluorescent lights in the ceiling, you wouldn't recognize the place. But when the light's off and all the infrared lighting is on, focused on all these things and robotics that were, painted with different colored, glowing, ultraviolet sensitive paints. Yeah. But however, when that closes up, at 10 o'clock at night or whenever, the cleaning crew, they chase everybody out, the front gates and close the gates, and they bring out these big hoses, hose down the streets. Everything is washed. Some of the handrails is actually touch-up painted. So that the next morning you go on that theme park and it looks like it just opened up first day. You can't see a chipped handrail. They'll touch it up with paint. You don't see a popsicle stick because they had these big hoses that, like if you're putting out a fire hoses, pumping thousands of gallons of water that go down through drainages that you can't even see the drains because they're hidden in landscaping. Everything is hidden. It's, when you're walking through, it's another world. You really believe you're in another world. You don't see any of the normal things that you would see, like streets and sidewalks. It's all cobblestone and this, Yeah, it's really cute. Now you'll spend a good $1 doing that, by the way. I remember doing a calculation that all in, this is room, board, hotel, not counting coming and going to Disney World. This is assuming you show up at the gate, and then at night you stay in some kind of a Disney hotel thingy. And then you have to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner somewhere in the theme park, at the hotel. That includes midnight snack. I remember, and this is in 25-year-old dollars, 25 years ago. So this is the year 2020. Remember year 2000? Oh my God, everything was going to disintegrate. Well, if you went to Walt Disney World in Orlando in, let's say, 1998, I calculated it cost about $500 a person. So, which in today's terms, that's not a bad idea. This is all in Disney, where you're buying coupon books, not these digital cards that you get at the entry gate. No, these are books. So you tear out, you have the A, B, C, and A, B, C, D, and E rides. You got 5 different rides. 5. And the A ride is, like you're sitting on a teacup and you go in circles. The B ride is a step up from that. The E ride, that's like, Magic Mountain, whatever they call that. Unbelievable rides are the E rides. And you'd have two E rides, 2 coupons for, and it had a big E on it. So you had the A, B, C, D, and E coupons. You had a bunch of A's, not so many B's, even less C's, a few D's, and 2 E's. So if you had 4 people with you, you bought 4 of these coupon books, that cost $75 for the 4 books, as I believe. It was like $17.50, $17.50 a book when it first opened. and you ended up with the coupon books for rides. And if you were going to go into Space Mountain, and there were 4 of you, and you were at least 48 inches tall or taller, yeah, I think you had to be 4 feet tall or something like that. Yeah. They had like a little ruler, and the kids would stand up, and if they were standing up on their tippy toes, their head would get to 4 feet. Everyone wanted to go on Space Mountain. Even stupid me that doesn't like roller coasters. Well, that's a roller coaster in the dark. It's really quite exciting. But, I will not do it again. When I was, like 37 years old, I rode it like 5 or 6 times. And I said, okay, Katie, that's enough. I'm not doing that anymore. Yeah. There was another ride called Thunder Mountain. I remember doing that. One winter we did that, and it got real cold, like in the high 30s. Well, a lot of people don't like to go to theme parks when it's in the 30s in Florida. There's a bunch of spoiled brats here. But we already had our tickets, and God, I think we went with some neighbors, friends that we had living in Tampa. So we drove from Tampa to Orlando. It's a 75-mile drive. It takes about, an hour and 15 minutes. On Interstate 4 from Tampa. And you're right into Orlando from Interstate 4. It's a direct shot going northeast, east-northeast from Tampa. Anyway, so we went there, but it got real rainy and real cold one day. I said, well, let's go, so we stayed in our hotel. We were staying on campus. So you didn't have to do anything with the cars because we were there for a week or something. And so at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we had word that one of the theme parks opened. So we ended up going deep into one of the theme parks where they had Thunder Mountain, which is like a roller coaster ride out in the Rocky West. And you're going through canyons and, all this stuff. And I think it was 8 or 9 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock, maybe it closed at 10. So we were there in the early evening, and there was no one there, at Thunder Mountain. So I remember it was Lee and Robin and Marilyn and Jimmy. So we went through Thunder Mountain, did a ride I normally don't do. Everybody knows I'm a sissy when it comes to, theme park rides. I don't like it. They're dangerous. People that do it, they got what we call summer teeth. Some are here and some are there. So, they don't look like the sharpest knives in the drawer, and they're controlling this huge piece of machinery, which is going to spin you around for 15 minutes and ups and downs and this and that. What if one of these bolts comes out and this gondola decides to take a ride of its own? I don't want to be in it. I just a very unsafe feeling about doing theme park rides. It's probably more dangerous to walk across the street, but I just wouldn't do it. It was a matter of personal safety. Plus, I was a coward. Yeah, I didn't do it. But everyone else, you go to a theme park, you got to go on the rides. Well, like I say, I held all the purses. Well, the crazy ladies and their kids decided to do the ride. I'll see you on the other end when you get out. So I take me and the stroller and 4 purses and roll over to where people get dumped out of these events. So. And then they'd be all cheery and they'd dust themselves off. And they go to the next one. I go, oh boy, when are we going to do a ride that I can do? Somewhere where I can look around and see everything going on. Oh boy. Anyway, so as it's $500 a person, including hotel, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and midnight snack. Now it's to get in the park. That's it. It's $150 a person. Then you add to that breakfast, lunch, dinner, midnight snack, and you add to that the hotel stay and the room tax, and you add all of it. It's like $1,000 a person per day. So you go to Disney. With the theme park passes and everything, and you're going to stay at the Grand Floridian Hotel for 8 days. You better figure $9,000. Yeah. Get a 2-bedroom suite. There are 6 or 7 of you. So to be safe, bring about 10 thou. 10K, as they say. 10 G notes. Yeah. 8,000 of that is going to be the hotel, and the 2,000 is going to be your electronic theme multi-park hopper ticket. You had to learn all this vernacular, because Mr. Wilson, what would you like? I don't know. Can you explain it all to me? Well, see, if you go to like the Grand Floridian Hotel, which is, you take the people mover right into the park instead of park the car, unpark the car, take a tram from the car to the transportation center, and then you do that and you get over to the monorails, and then you get on the monorails where you then go to your desired theme park, which there are 4 or 5 of those now. But if you stay at the Grand Floridian, the monorail runs right in front of the lobby of the Grand Floridian Hotel, where people can drive up and and park your car and have your bags brought into the main lobby and then up to wherever you're staying. That's what you do for day 1, morning 1. And then what you do is, after your bags get up into the room, you come back down to the lobby where you have some of these Disney characters theme parked with the Grand Floridian, which is an old style Floridian hotel, which is really a new style Disney version of old style Floridian hotel, Jacksonville style, southern, South Carolina, North Florida, South Georgia style hotel, the Grand Floridian. Yeah. So they have, regular lobby check-in people for when you show up for day 1. And then to the right of those is 2 or 3 other stations that have like Disney character people. And you can sit down, they have a desk, and you pull up a side chair next to the desk, and you're looking along at, at Mr. Bunny, who's arranging your ride. And they explain every darn thing, You get a complete lesson in all the vocabulary words that the Disney engineers, they call them Imagineers. Yeah, they're not Disney engineers, they're Imagineers with crazy ears. And they explain everything to you. Oh, yeah. That's how I learned all about the ticket systems at Disney World, because these people would take all, but if you go to the transportation center to buy your tickets, it's wham, bam, goodbye, ma'am. You got 35 people in line, behind you, so you don't have any room you got to think before you get to the up station. And you got to read all these big placards. Oh my God. My eyes just roll up into the back of my head when I look at all those things you have to figure out for the first time. I get, oh my God. Yeah, no. That's not how Jimmy did it. We tried to do it, slick and easy. Yep. Anyway, Walt Disney World is a very exciting thing to do. For all you that have not done it, I just spent a few minutes explaining the trials and tribulations of the early days of Disney. But it was quite a huge secret when Walt Disney in California announced that they have just acquired 27,000 acres in southwestern Orlando, 19 miles centered from the city center of Orlando, abutting Interstate 4. And I remember driving Interstate 4 from Tampa to Orlando, and there was this huge interchange, with all the signs covered. But it took them like 5 years to do this huge interchange off of I-4, about 19 miles southwest of Orlando. I feel, what the hell is that all about? There's something really big going on here. Are they building a new airport over here or something? Which, of course, no. That was the entrance to Walt Disney World, which was kept a big secret. So everything that sounded like Walt Disney World was covered in green tarps. And but you had all these big signs, and then all of a sudden, one day before the grand opening, you'd have all these cranes and things taking off all the tarps, off all the signage, and the cones, the big heavy cones that were nailed into the street that blocked you from taking that exit 19 miles southwest of Orlando on Interstate 4. They peel all that up and fill in all the holes and make the streets, and all of a sudden the exits are opened, and the I-4 had signs, next exit, Walt Disney World. But that pylon was covered with tarp for like 5 years. It took them 5 years to build all those interchanges, and it took them 10 years to build Magic Kingdom. Yeah, wow. And a 10-year assemblage of the property. It took them 10 years to assemble the property, and 8 or 10 years to build the Magic Kingdom. Every single blade of grass was on purpose. I mean, they moved in trees, big trees. They transplanted big trees from big tree forest, big tree, tree farms, and they trucked them in, one tree a truck. And you had like 37,000 trees were all transplanted, in the semi-swamp land in southwest Orlando. Amazing. They tricked everybody. And all of a sudden it's open, and they had the news people there. They got every TV channel from 20 different countries. You better come over to Orlando. We got something exciting to show you. And everybody showed up. But can you imagine, just imagine from a developer standpoint, an investor standpoint, a company manager standpoint, the employee of Disney standpoint, and they say, we have designed something, the announcement, in front of all the TV channels. We have designed something that is so exciting. We project that 35,000 people are going to come in the front gates every day, starting with day one. And guess what? They were right. They had 38,000 people driving in from all parts of the United States, flying in from all further parts of the United States, people flying from London and Tokyo and, from China. Everybody's flying in, driving in, into southwest Orlando, coming right in the main gates, by car or taxi, in the days of the taxi cab. Yeah, coming in the main gate. And somehow or other, by 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 8:30 the next morning, from 11:30 in the morning or 12, 35,000 people would come in the main gates of Walt Disney World from day one, where they bought coupon books with the ABCDE coupons. I have, somewhere in my Funkin' Wildness here, I have a file. I'm the baggie king. See this right here? Here's a baggie with faxes having to do with some medical stuff I need when I travel. When you get a little... And so here's a piece of equipment I need when I travel. It's in a plastic bag, of course. Everything I have is in a plastic bag. And if it's... so here's number one son's Highboy commuter scooter, the VE1 Pro. Well, what is it? It's in a nice plastic bag with the packing slip, the warranty slip. Yeah. I have my tax returns in plastic bags back here along this row. Oh, what's this? In this neat little plastic bag. This is a member enrollment form for United Healthcare AARP health insurance. There it is, in a plastic bag. Yeah. Guaranteed to survive a flood. I mean, that's not what I do. That's how I do all my personal folders. When you're in the office, you have folders. And inside the folder, you put the paper. Well, when I'm home, I don't use folders. I use plastic bags. What the heck is this? This is a Clinks. Oh, I signed a contract electronically. Now, that's a neat trick. Yep. In a plastic bag. All right, that's enough of that. Oh, here's a nice little picture I stumbled across. I'll show you this one. This is a fan favorite. Look who's there. There's Marilyn with her trusty digital camera. Game day at the FAU Stadium. There we go. She's got her vest on. You got to wear these stupid yellow vest things. Just to you slip it over whatever clothing you're wearing, because everybody that is a properly credentialed, if you're properly credentialed to be on the field of play, on the sidelines with a camera in hand, you have to have one of those yellow pullover things. It's got a number on it, and an FAU logo on it. You can just barely see an FAU logo on the back. Anyways, you have to wear those things. Just happened to, see a piece of paper that wasn't in a bag. What could that piece of paper be? Everything's in a bag. Yes, sir. What the heck is this? Okay. So all this started with the Tesla Cybertruck with a Toyota decal put along the whole back end of it. Gosh, someone had to really think quick to get a transparent decal at the exact dimension of the back of their Cybertruck, because they don't want people, you walk by and you key the car, you've heard of that, and the guy just scrapes the paint, Well, they're not doing that. They're throwing Molotov cocktails at the cars in whatever city they were destroying. I guess it was in California somewhere. Jeez. Because they're mad at Elon Musk doing audits on some of the department. Can you imagine they're auditing the financial records of a federal agency to just see if there's any fraud or wasteful spending going on? The Congress passes laws, but the executive branch of the government, the office of the president, including the president, and all his staff, they're responsible for the proper execution of the laws that are passed by Congress. Someone has to oversee what's going on. Congress certainly isn't doing it. So the executive branch does it. That's what they do. Yes, sir. So doing it, and these liberal wackos are taking a position, no, we don't want to see whether it's being spent properly. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, American people are scratching their head. What? You don't care how you're spending my tax money? Oh, you better darn care about how it's being spent. Well, that's what Elon Musk is, because Trump ran. I mean, it was part of his, campaigning, pre-election campaigning for a year for a couple of years. To be president, you got to run for office for a couple of years. You got to carve out a few years of your life and tell the people who you are and why you should elect me. And 150 million people on November 5th cast their vote. And most unusually, a Republican candidate not only won 312 electoral college votes, which in baseball terms means home runs. Base hits don't count. Don't tell me how many base hits you had. You don't win baseball games by base hits. You win baseball games with home runs. It could be 2-1 and a lot of base hits. Maybe the team that had one run had the most base hits. Well, the number of home runs wins a game. The number of electoral college votes wins the presidential election. Don't confuse me with the popular vote, which means just add up all the votes casted by everybody in all 50 states. But in this case, a Republican candidate, Donald Trump, when he was elected as president, number 47 in our history of presidents, he not only won the electoral college majority of 312 electoral votes, he won the popular vote with like 76 million votes. And Kamala, the Democratic candidate, the sitting vice president then with Joe Biden, she got like 73 million votes. So it's like 73 million votes to 77 million votes. Donald Trump wins. But the popular vote doesn't, it's like base hits. It doesn't, that's not a statistic that makes you win the presidency. It's the number of home runs, the electoral college votes, Well, you're going to lose weight. It's called see right there, the ketogenic diet. Boy, that's a mouthful of consonants. Ketogenic diet on appetite regulation. So what basically that is throws your body either into ketosis or near ketosis, which means you're basically a protein-only diet, or mostly protein diet. No sugars and no carbohydrates. So that throws your body into ketosis. And there's keto strips that one can acquire, which, ketosis is a rather stressful thing on your body because you don't have any sugars, you don't have any carbohydrates. So your body has to figure out how to, digest these proteins. So you know what happens? Your fat tissue within your body, that's already in your body, it takes some fat tissue, and that's what gets burned off during the day, and it tends to eliminate a little sliver of fatty tissue in your body every day. Some fatty tissue gets converted into sugars that your blood system can then deliver to your organs. But while you're getting into that ketosis period, there's a huge transformation of your body chemistry, because now your body chemistry is saying, take the fatty tissues in my body and convert a little bit of that into the sugars that I need to feed my other organs in my body. So you buy keto strips to make sure your body is in ketosis, and then at that point forward, no carbohydrates, no big bowls of spaghetti. No, you gotta, the sweetest thing you can eat is maybe a raisin or two. Anyway, so the potential effects. So I just happened to cut this out because, as a trained biochemist, albeit a long time ago, you have the negative energy balance. You see that little right there, calories in, is less than calories out. And so you got a hamburger there, and then you got a person jogging here. And GHRELIN, that's the hunger hormone. And you've got the leptin. Yep. So you got two kinds of hormones. I'm going along this top bar here. And then you got hunger, and you're thinking about food, and you're wondering if you're hungry or not. So what you do is you grab a Big Mac, a double Big Mac with cheese that's dripping over the edge. The risk of eating unhealthy food, yeah, and the loss of the caloric deficit. And then all of a sudden you come out of ketosis rapidly. And then you strap yourself to the commode for about 3 days. You don't do anything rapidly when you're coming and going out of ketosis. You put your body and your whole digestive cycle into arrest, gastronomic arrest, as opposed to cardiac arrest. Yeah, leptin, the setae hormone, decreases sensitivity to leptin and the feeling of being satisfied. That's what that word means. That's your ketogenic diet. So you think you're getting a lot of leptin, and then the increased sensitivity to leptin and the feeling of goodness. Yep. Motivation to be more physically active as you are taking your journey to weight loss. And then the life cycle of all that. Whoops. Whoa, don't go away now. Yeah, you got the weights in the hand. The motivation to be more physically active as your weight loss scenario continues to motivate you to do more of this. Yep. So you convert yourself to a low-fat diet because you want to use your own body fat instead of eating animal body fat. Like a steak. Oh, I think I'll eat, I want a fatty steak. The most tender porterhouse steak. It's the marbleization of the meat means it's striated with fatty tissue. And that's where all the flavor is in the meat. If you eat a piece of round steak, which is unbelievable red meat. No striations. It's really, you got to cook that perfectly medium rare, or else you could sew that on the bottom of your shoes for additional shoe leather. Yeah. It's hard to kill a fillet, but boy, you can kill a sliver of round steak. You ever hear ground round? So a lot of times they grind it up and make hamburger meat out of it. Because no one wants to eat that meat for anything else but a hamburger. So that's what the food processing centers do. Anyway, so there's a full-scale version of that, of the ketogenic. Forget the high-fat diet, where you take one body fat and substitute for another body fat. But it's quite stressful on the body because it's been used to eating all these carbohydrates and fats, and all of a sudden you stop. Well, that's the magic. Don't all of a sudden it. Take it slow. Give me plenty of opportunity to debate whether I really want to put my body through this. So here's this picture in a big round, big round format there. Reduced need for obesity medication. Yeah, you bet. Because you're glycemic stabilization. Losing weight is a very important thing to do because it reduces the stress on your heart, number one. Because you're pumping blood to, a massively bigger body. You could be a nice, trim 125-pound, woman, but when you're 325 pounds, you got an extra 200 pounds of fatty tissue that requires, circulation of your blood and, the oxygenation of the tissue and, the feeding of those body molecules. And, you have big appetites. Yeah, you go through these glycemic cycles, and a lot of very heavyweight people are sitting on the couch after dinner eating a whole bag of Cheetos. And they wonder why they're gaining a half a pound a day. Yeah, half a pound a day times 100 days is 50 pounds. That's pretty fast. Anyway, so this article is about, and of course they add genetic on the end of the word to make it even more important, you think. The ketogenic diet, yeah. They don't know anything about your genes, except if you're wearing blue jeans. All right, this Webb telescope. You have telescopes now that have a certain amount of AI in it, artificial intelligence. Because, when you look through a telescope, a modern day telescope, connects to a software package that you download, from your iPhone into the telescope. And it picks out constellations and all this, even though you might be looking through the Milky Way. And it compares what it's seeing star-wise and planet-wise to the point where, a new spot. You would have never known that if we didn't happen to draw a little circle around it. Or not we or me, the Taz company. Tazable/Mashable.com. Yep, they determined that a Webb telescope just spotted a curious objects that aren't stars and they're not planets. Well, if they're not stars or planets, what's left? Well, they have names for all these little dits and dots you see, fussing around our planetary system. Yep. And of course, the artificial intelligence, matches all those little dits and dots compared to all the known dots and dits. And you got suns, a lot of different suns. We have one in our solar system. We call it the sun. But there are a lot of solar systems floating around out there. Captain Kirk from Star Trek can tell you that. Anyway, this Webb telescope spotted some curious objects that aren't stars and they're not planets. And our solar system knows of the sun and the planets. At one point they called Pluto a planet, and later on they said, no, that's not a planet, it's just an object that's floating around out in the outer boundaries of our galaxy. So today the inflation reports come out, probably 10 a.m., and then the stock market will react accordingly. The stock market has been on a steady climb upwards with not that many undulations except for since Trump has been elected. Yeah. I remember someone telling me the stock market or a share of a company that's publicly traded. Those shares, if they're publicly traded, you got millions of shares that are specifically registered for public trading. So the public can come and go and buy shares one day and then sell them the next day. Well, how do they do that? Well, they have to, go through, the stock brokerage accounts, and you can buy and sell stocks. And someone told me a long time ago, if there are more buyers than sellers, the share price of that stock goes up. Because there's a scarcity of the shares, in a sense. So if there are more buyers than sellers, stock prices go up. If there are more sellers than buyers, then there's an abundance of shares, essentially, in the pipeline. And the stock price slides down. And that's the roller coaster of up and down. The day traders, if you will, pretty much decide if when the news guy at 6 o'clock say, whoa, the NYSE is down 400 points from 41,000 to, Remember, if it goes up 400 points, that's 1%. That 1% is not exactly a huge trading day for or against the NYSE, New York Stock Exchange. 400 points 20 years ago was a big move. And some of the older broadcasters, get all agitated about a 400-point move in the stock exchange. But remember, it's a 41,000, Dow. It's not a 1,000 Dow. It's not like 30% of the stock has traded down. It's 1% or 1.5%. Okay, well, Marco Rubio now heads to Canada as Trump wages a trade war. This trade war and these tariffs. Let me just say something about tariffs. Now, if in Trump world, and he just put tariffs on everything. Back 100 years ago, our country could, receive enough fundings through tariffs where there was no income tax. That's a relatively recent thing in our 250-year history. It's only, until after the Great Depression, if you will, 1939, 1930, 1925. We did not have, there's no provision in the Constitution for income tax. That was a creation of Congress. They just decided to do it, and they voted it in, and all of a sudden we got an income tax. And so we pay taxes, federal taxes. But, Trump doesn't just create tariffs on everything and every country, across all product lines that we buy, and, consumables. So we, this is like a 25% tariff on anything going into Canada. So all our products had to be marked up an additional 25% to pay the tariff that the Canadian wages against American enterprise, if you will, American businesses that are trying to trade into Canada, pants and shirts and belts and shoes and sneakers, from Nike and all this stuff. Cars, they get, huge tariffs on a Cadillac. $75,000 Cadillac in the United States costs $100,000 in Canada because they got that stupid tariff on it. So Trump says to Canada, we're going to put a 25% tariff on everything you export to us. Since you have a 25% tariff on everything you import from us, you're going to get a 25% tariff on everything you export to us. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it. So now we got 25% going back and forth. Well, that cures the trade imbalance real quick, because now instead of, now we got equal tariffs going in both directions. So sooner or later, wiser men will think about this and say, you know what? If we're both at 25%, why don't we both go to 0%? And then we have free trade, and no one has a trade imbalance because of tariffs. Sooner or later, they're going to get the joke. Now, they may pay, they may pay for their share of the trade imbalance. But sooner or later, they're going to say, why are you charging me 25% and I'm charging you 25%? Let's just get rid of this tariff business. They'll come to that realization. One step at a time, You think like you couldn't think about that before you ever had a tariff. So that's why the economic advisors went to Trump and say, you know what? Do a reciprocal tariff. Whatever you charge us, we're charging you. And then they'll do that for a while. And then they'll get the joke that maybe we ought to just forget about this 25% tariff business and let's both countries eliminate all tariffs. They'll eventually come to that. It may take them 6 or 8 months to figure it out. Or the next election cycle, assuming their elections are in November, as ours are. It's only, can you imagine? It's only 9 months left to the next November. Oh, my God. It's March. It's not even 9 months. Oh, geez. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. 8 months to go, and we got another election. Oh, my God. We just had an election. See, the tricky part of national federal elections is that election day is in November, but the people don't take office until January 1st of the next year. So you got that November, December, January. You got that 75 to 90 day cooling off period, if you will, before the new Congress is sworn in. You know, it's 75 or 80 days from, you know, whenever the first Tuesday is in the year. Trump wants to have a national holiday for Election Day, so that way no one will have, you know, an edge on an election. Democrats win. Minnesota State House. All right, I got a lot of calls coming in. So if you don't mind, I think I'm going to stop this and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.